lovelies, Smiley here. Happy Friday. Happy Black Friday. Are you all like Black Friday'd out with 50,000 emails in your inbox? I woke up this morning and I was like ping, 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 ping. Oh, God, this shopping frenzy. Maybe you're all out shopping. I hope you've had a lovely week. How are you? You okay? How are your kids doing? Getting excited for Christmas? I've jumped online today to talk to you about what to do if you or your child need lots of reassurance and if you're a bit of a self-doubter. So come on in and say hello if you're on the live, and if you're watching on the... Oh look, that affects the light. I wonder why that is. Yes, and if you're watching on the playback, hello, hi Nikki. You can still ask questions, so don't be shy. But I was thinking about the self-doubt because lots of my clients have self-doubt, and I kind of associate that and tie that in with lack of confidence and self-esteem. Because if you know yourself and you're confident, you're not going to doubt yourself. So I've got some questions to ask you. Also, if you're a doubter, you're a soft target for bullying. Because I believe that's how bullies and narcissists and people who don't respect you, that's how they get into your psyche. And when you start doubting yourself, or when someone starts changing your reality, that's really dangerous. So I want to see if you're the type of person, or if your child is the type of person who will ask the opinions of 10 other people. You see, I do that a lot. I've stopped doing it as I've got older, but you know, like I'll put a new page up on the website, or I'll put a blog out, or I'll put something out, and I'll ask you guys for feedback, and I'll say, what do you think of this? Then I get 10 opinions of other people, and I'm not listening to myself. And actually, if I just go quiet and listen to myself, we know what the answer is. We know what the answer is. Do you get really affected by other people's feedback and criticism? So when people make comments on things, do you automatically stop being your own cheerleader and take on board what the other person says, and then start thinking, oh, well, that must be right because they've said that? So one of the things I'm a big fan of, and when I'm coaching kids and coaching parents, is to have like a framework or a set of ideas that I believe work for people. However, I don't tell people, I'm not prescriptive. I do not say to kids, you must do this and you must do that. I make suggestions about, you could try this, or what feels right for you. I ask them to listen to what's right for them, and that's the key, really. So yesterday, some of you may have noticed I went to the spa. I went to the Nirvana Spa in Reading, which is just absolutely lush. If you've ever been there, just let me know if you've been there. It's amazing. And while I was there, I was listening to a meditation, and the meditation asked me to go on a journey to meet my older self, myself in 20 years' time. I sailed down a river 20 years ahead of time. Now, I might do this on my bedtime slot on a Monday. I don't know if any of you have been joining in, but on a Monday around about 6:30, I've done a couple of guided visualizations to get the kids relaxed and ready for bed. So I might do this one on Monday to help them. But I went down this river and I met myself in 20 years' time. And the person who has all the answers is me. So the person that has all the answers is you. And a job of a coach is to help you unlock those answers and to see your potential, and to help you recognise that you already know the answers. So children who aren't very connected to their emotions or their feelings, or they're not connected into themselves because they're externally focused, have poor boundaries, but they also they don't know, they'll tell you they don't know the answer, or they don't know what they want. It's really interesting. They come to coaching and there's lots of tumbleweed silences, and you say, so what do you think about this? I don't know. So who do you think is the craziest person in your family, or the happiest? I don't know. Often people say I don't know when they do know the answer, but they're frightened to say it out loud because they're worried they might disappoint or offend someone else. But often they say I don't know as kind of like a reflex, like a reaction to something, without really thinking about it. So I will often sit in the uncomfortable silence with those kids and say, I think you do know. If you did know the answer, what might it be? And that sounds like a really stupid question, but actually if you just stay silent and allow them to go within. So one of my Smiley thought cards is I listen to my heart. And these are really good if you self-doubt. So as a self-doubter, you're often looking for guidance and reassurance. So if you do the cards and you shuffle and you ask them a question, all they do is they reflect back to you what your higher self wants you to know. So they are really good for that, really good. So let's just pull one now and see what we get while we're talking about intuition. So I also want to help children. Now, if you've got a strong-willed sensitive child, they have really, really powerful intuition. Like when they're connected to their intuition, they're on fire. They may know things before they happen. You may hear people say that they're old souls or they're really wise. So when you allow your wild heart child, and I've written a blog post about your wild heart child, which is your strong-willed sensitive child. So they're a really unusual combination of having this real tenacity and determination. You can get into power struggles with them. They need boundaries set in a certain way. And there's a course in the online learning den that tells you, it's called No More Power Struggles, how to do that. But they also are incredibly sensitive. So they pick up on their environment around them, and they're very aware of how everyone else feels. So often they can take those feelings on board, again, because they're like wide open and they need boundaries. They need boundaries. So I'm just going to pull a card about what do I need to know today. Life is magical and fun. So it's a positivity card, and it says believe that anything is possible, find ways to see the magic and trust it's there. And part of listening to your intuition is trusting yourself to do the right thing and know that you can handle anything that life throws at you. So I've been coaching a lot of angry children lately. I've had a couple of calls actually with parents this morning, coming straight back in at the deep end after my spa day yesterday. An angry boy and a little boy with ADHD who's not angry, he's anxious. But I seem to have children that come in waves. So you guys do know, don't you, that over in the online learning den there's a program called How to Tame Your Angry Dragon, and it's got a whole kit for kids to help them deal with their anger, but it's also got support notes for children, for parents, to help you as parents deal with your triggers, because your children are going to trigger you, and if you don't look at your triggers you will continually be triggered by your children, which means that you won't be able to help them with their anger. So it's called How to Tame Your Angry Dragon. Oh, and my Black Friday deal is 10% off on everything in the online learning den with using the code Smiley10. So I'm just going to throw that in there. But angry children often are reacting to stuff. So they're not going within, and they're not connected. They're not connected. Or they are connected and someone's overstepping their boundaries. Now, if you think about it, children don't have that many choices. Wild heart children need choices. They do not like being told what to do because they come from a place of integrity. So they're not purposefully being disobedient, or they're not purposefully getting into power struggles with you. They have very strong feelings about things, and that's why they really need to be connected into their intuition. So when I'm talking to wild hearts, I say to them, your intuition is your inner voice. It's your sat-nav, like Daddy's got in the car. So how would you describe your intuition? I think it's your inner voice. And how many times does that inner voice say something to you? Like the first time you meet a person and you get like a feeling of, not really sure about you. And then you push that feeling away because you think, it's a bit mean to think like that. Perhaps I should give them a chance. So you and then that's your intuition trying to talk to you, and you push it away. And that's why I practice mindfulness and meditation with my little clients that come to coaching, because I want them to be still and be quiet and be in their bodies, so they can listen and they're connected. And I'll always say to them when they're talking to me about how they feel, what does that feel like when that happens? I'm not interested in the story, really. I'm listening to the story, obviously, because they need to be heard and validated. But I'm saying to them, what does that feel like? That feels like angry. Where's that anger? In my tummy. Okay. What is that anger telling you? And that's them being connected to themselves and working out what's right for them. The problem is when you've got a parenting style that's very strict, or if you're a control freak like me and you're constantly instructing and telling all the time, you've got a very obedient child that's well behaved, but you've got a child that can't go inside and listen to what's right for them. So they have to be in their body and they have to be aware of their feelings. And that's what I'm teaching children in all of my coaching. And that's why I find that drawing is a really, really good way to get them to tune in and listen, or doing like calm colouring, because they'll be with the colouring, but they can go still, and that's quite a meditative state. The minute your logical brain, hang on a minute. Oh, my cards are jumping on the floor. The minute your logical brain kicks in, that's the part of your brain that starts making you wrong, that gets up in the story, starts thinking logically. You've lost the connection with your intuition. Wild heart children have such strong intuition, and you have to allow them to tell you. And that's why they don't really like taking instructions from you. Rebel. That was me. Don't take instructions, because they need to feel their way and they need to feel what's right for them. And when you're a feeler, I take a bit of time to cop on sometimes, but I need to be with myself and I need to listen to what's right for me. And this is the thing, isn't it? I've identified some ways. I've written a bit of a list here of how we try and how we block our children from listening to themselves, or how we block their intuition. So I wonder if you can guess what any of them are. Think about the ways that you interact with your child or communicate with your child on a daily basis. Think about the ways that you might be blocking their intuition or stopping them from connecting to themselves. Can you have a think about that? Type in the chat room if you can think of any ideas. So one of the ways I think I block my own intuition is by being so blooming busy that my feet don't touch the ground, and then I'm not grounded in my body. And this podcast that I was listening to yesterday was saying that one of the really good ways to get into your body and change your aura is to dance. And I used to love dancing as a child, and then Zumba as I've got older, and I've stopped going. And it made me think yesterday when I was at the spa, I need to get back into I love watching Strictly. It makes me want to get up off my sofa and dance. But apparently that puts you back in your body, which changes your aura. It changes your aura, as does being out in nature, as does going for a walk, going for a run. So when you think about how your child's energy sometimes gets a bit fragmented and a bit fraught, you need to bring them back down into their bodies and ground their energy. So when I do my bedtime meditation, relaxation on Monday night, this coming Monday night, I'm going to take the children into their bodies. That's what I do. But then I'm going to take them to meet themselves and find out what they want to tell themselves. Yeah, doing it for them. Well done, Nikki. Jumping in with solutions to her problem. Well done, Anne. Yeah. But we do that a lot, don't we? And it comes from a loving place. It comes from a loving place, the coming up with solutions, because we want to help them and we don't like to see them struggle because we care about them. The doing it for them, I'm assuming, Nikki, is a time constraint. So, when we're short of time and you're saying, get your shoes on, and they're taking ages, you just kind of step in and do it, don't you? Or when they're getting stuck with their homework and they're tired and it's the witching hour and you've got to get them in the bath, you've got to get them ready for bed, and you just think, oh, come here, I'll do it. So time constraints would mean that you would stop. And also, so the jumping in and fixing. So when I'm coaching Anne, I completely relate to that. Obviously, I've got a toolkit of things I can give them to do. And I suppose I've got better with experience. But what I do now is I tend to kind of just allow the silence and just do the whole empathy thing and meet them where they are, and then say, so what are you going to do about that? Or what are your choices? Gives them the power back as well, doesn't it? It's very empowering when you feel, as an adult, let alone a small person, there's something you can do to change the situation that you find yourself in. It's really empowering. So some of the other things I've got here as well are ask instead of telling them. So we tell them We say, well, that's annoying, or that's frustrating, and you do that because, or, well, we tell them what they are. My dad always used to tell me what I was thinking, or we make assumptions, don't we? We make assumptions that their experience of the situation is the same as ours. It might not be. So checking in with them and asking them instead of telling them is a really good one to help them connect into themselves. And even if they're connecting in and they're saying, I don't know, they do know. They do know, and they can be guided by their feelings, guided by what's going on in their bodies. There's a really good book called The Body Keeps Score. Your body knows everything. And I think that the illnesses show up in your body. It's your body's way of telling you that it's had enough. It's had enough of stuff. We don't listen. So we listen to respond, or we listen while we're doing something else, but we're not really listening. That's another course in my online learning den, How to Listen with Love. This is about listening to validate and to help them move through to problem solving. And this way of listening does connect them back to themselves, so that they can work it out for themselves. It fosters independence in them. When they know they can do it for themselves, they still need a mum, so don't worry, they're not going anywhere. They're not leaving you, but it's so good for them. And that they increase in their confidence. The more they problem solve for themselves, the more confident they get. Amazing. We dismiss or ignore. So sometimes, some parenting styles will say, oh, just don't focus on negative behaviour or distract them from it, or I don't necessarily think that's always the right way. In certain situations it might be appropriate, but when you're upset, if someone dismisses or ignores or guides over. Actually, last week I was texting somebody and I told them something about myself, and they replied and they completely ignored that I'd said something quite important to me and quite wow, and it was the first time they were hearing me say it. And it made them feel uncomfortable, so they totally ignored it and responded to everything else in the text. That made me angry, because I felt unseen and I felt invalidated and I felt like they didn't get it. It felt like they weren't really on my side. Thinking, how could you ignore something as important as that? We take over and do it for them. We've already said that. We respond for them. So you know when they're talking to an adult, some children are not very good at talking to adults, and an adult or a teacher will ask them a question and they just, like rabbit trapped in the headlights, just stand there and go. And as a parent you're going, speak child, speak, and then you're kind of like going, take your fingers out your mouth, talk to your teacher, you see, and all of that they can't hear. They can't hear themselves while all of our stuff is playing out for them. So I had a kid last week who is so sensitive and so tuned in. She's actually hearing things at night time and seeing things and it's scaring her, obviously. So I'm helping her with that. But she was saying to me at school, she's got one teacher who's really, really shouty and she is afraid of him. And in his class, she can't understand any of the stuff. She puts her hand up and asks him. He explains it in exactly the same way as he's just explained it, but shouts at her a bit louder because she's not getting it. And she said at that point, I can't hear, I can't take on board what he's saying, because I'm in my body, I'm thinking, I don't understand, I'm really scared. I get that. Then you get a bit of a block, don't you? So that's a block to learning when you're not relaxed and connected into yourself. So that's really important. And actually, when someone says they don't understand, don't shout louder and tell them the same thing again, but in a louder voice. Try and explain it to them in a different way. We're all different types of learners, aren't we? We're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic feelers. I find that sensitive children learn by experience. They learn by feeling and doing. And kinesthetic learners take longer to cop on. I'm one of them. Do any of you guys know your learning style? Are you auditory or visual or kinesthetic? Do you know what your learning style is? I'm very visual, as in I like to see things, and when I'm explaining things to the kids, that's why we draw stuff out, because I feel like that goes into your subconscious mind. The drawings that we do, they go deep into the subconscious mind, so they don't always have to get it on that level, they get it on a much deeper level. So do any of you guys know your learning style? Oh, Hang on, I've missed a load of comments. Right, I'm coming to the chat roll. Sorry, guys, not ignoring you. I just didn't realise there were comments. When she's crying because she can't do something, I say, would you like my help? And she always says no. That's the strong will, isn't it, Nikki? That's the, I want to do it myself, mummy. That's me. No, I'll do it. 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 Grew assumptions. Horrible. I hated it when my parents did that. Yeah. We used to joke a bit with my dad about that, but he did used to tell you what you were thinking and feeling, and it would be like, oh my God, my experience of that is completely different to yours. It just used to make me more angry, and then I'd get so angry that I couldn't hear myself anymore because I was too hung up in convincing him of being wrong. Because when you get into the story, you're just not connecting on that level where you can, you know, find resolution, are you? Visual and doing. Yeah, I'm the same, Nikki. I'm visual, but I also need to learn. I need to experience it to be able to learn. Interesting. The other thing is in the silence, so uncomfortable silences. How uncomfortable is it for you to sit in the silence? Not just with your kids, but with your partner. So I was on the phone to a dad this morning talking about his angry son, and he was saying that every time they went to have a conversation, he was kind of trying to relate to him and say, you know, I don't want this sort of relationship with you. Really lovely, deep and meaningfuls. Son was getting really annoyed and saying, don't say things like that, don't be so ridiculous. When your child doesn't want to talk, maybe talking is not the answer. They just want to be with you. So perhaps go and lie down with them on the bed. That's what I suggested. And just say, I'm here for you. I'm here for you, and we don't need to talk, but I'm just going to be here with you. They just want you to be there for them. And know that you've got them, and that you understand. I learn through experience, so it needs to feel safe for me to try in case I get it wrong. And I did often, apparently. Oh, Anne, yes. You need to feel safe in case you get it wrong, so you don't like making mistakes. Me neither. You're talking to the kid who, after every sum, went up to the maths teacher and said, is this one right? Is this one right? Needing constant reassurance. So going back to the self-doubt, there is a mindset with the self-doubt, and there is an inner critic, and there is a voice in there that makes you doubt yourself. But I think when you're externally focused, you've got poor, weak boundaries. When the other person's talking, you get focused on making them wrong, or the story, or that's the other thing I've got here, making comparisons. So when you start thinking, making yourself wrong, and thinking, oh, they don't do it like that. Oh, is this right? Is this right? It's right for you. What is right for you doesn't make someone else wrong. You can both be wrong or you can both be right. So comparison is another way that we start to doubt ourselves. So I'll give you a really silly example of that. I'll leave the house, makeup on, all dressed, feeling quite nice, walk down the street, look at another woman who looks like really glamorous and gorgeous, and automatically start to doubt my outfit choice of the day. Comparison will drive you nuts, will drive you absolutely nuts. Anyone else do the comparison thing? I'm sure in the parenting arena, if there's judgment, there's comparison, right? But you can't tell someone else. That's what I'm saying. I can't tell you how to parent your kids. I can tell you things that I do in the coaching room that I know work. I can tell you my experience of growing up with the temperament that I've got, with the style of parenting that wasn't a good fit for me. I can share my experiences with you. What you do with that is entirely your choice. And there is another course in the Online Learning Den called Be the Mum You Want to Be. And it talks about tuning into your mum tuition or your mum wisdom. You know your child. You know what is right for your child. Mostly when parents ring me for like the free consultation before they book coaching, I'll ask some sort of key questions, and just by sharing experiences in 20-minute phone call, sometimes they can just get off the phone and think, all right, I need to do that. They don't need coaching, just need someone to say, yeah, that's right. Of course I'm going to say it's right. It's right for you because you think it's right for your child, and I'm not going to doubt your experience or what you think is right. Your child will tell you what's right anyway, and you can tell by the level of connection you've got with them and the sort of behaviour and the response they give you. You know when you do something that upsets your child, or you think, oh, I didn't play that one very well. But you can just correct it and make it okay again. The other one we've already said, which Anne said, is fix and rescue. So how in tune with you are you with your feelings? How good are your personal boundaries? Are you walking around wide open, just taking on everyone else's opinions and feedback, or are you boundaried enough to be able to stay with yourself and know what's right for you? How well do you know yourself? And that's why I've created Always Be Yourselfie, because kids need to know who they are, and obviously they're changing as they go through different ages, and when they're a teenager they'll be exploring other ways of being. That's all part of discovering who you are. But fundamentally we have a set of values. We have bits about us, like our temperament. Our temperament is not changeable. We're born with our temperament. So I think the strong-willed sensitive child has come in to break down old systems, but also their sensitivity kind of changes the energy of humanity, you know? Less judgment, less hate, more kindness, more being aware of what's going on around them. And they come into families where it's needed. They come into families where, you know, they're not relating emotionally. They are getting in the story. Families who have very black and white thinking, who think things are either right or wrong. They're being sent into those families to break them open and change things up. Do you ever push away your knowing? Do you ever think about something? It might be a really fleeting thought and you think, yeah, that might happen. And then you go, oh no, I'm not going to think about that. And then it does happen. Or do you ever I think about someone and then I go to my phone and they've texted me. That happens a lot. It happens with clients a lot, actually, which shows you how connected you are to your client when they come and do a coaching course with you, how they're connected to you. I do believe that my strong-willed sensitive child is changing my world. Yeah, and in a good way, Anne. And I know that you've made some really lovely comments on my page, and I know that can be quite painful and quite shocking. It can be quite a shock to the system. But I don't think it's because anyone's doing it wrong because they're not coming from a place of love. I think we're just repeating patterns of our parents' parents, of our parents' parents' parents, of how things are done. And I don't think strong-willed sensitive children, wild hearts, respond positively to mainstream parenting. There is a way to handle them, and that's why I've written the courses in the online learning. And there's a way to handle them that is not mainstream parenting. And then the gifts that child recognises they have about themselves, their sensitivity, their strong intuition, their creativity, their voice. We've got to give them their voice back. They need this voice. This voice is going to change the world. It's going to break down old systems. It's going to lead people. We can't take their voice away. Ah, mine too. She's teaching me so much. Amazing, guys. It's amazing. So when it comes to self-doubt, if you doubt yourself, my sort of top tips would be, and this is the things I've done to help myself, is to meditate. Is to notice when I'm not connected to myself. Is to notice when I'm getting pulled into the story and someone's making me wrong and I'm feeling like I have to defend myself. I don't have to defend myself. I know who I am. If the other person chooses to see me in a different way, that's their filter and that's their stuff. We don't have to attend every argument we're invited to. We don't have to take everyone's feedback on board. We have to notice when we're asking other people for feedback and advice and opinions. While we're doing that, think about what am I not doubting? What am I not listening to? Why am I not listening to myself? My favourite saying, use your voice. Yeah, use your voice. Speak your truth. Use your words, not your hands and feet. Use your words. It's a big one. Because a lot of the time, children's self-expression comes out in their bad behaviour, doesn't it? That's their way of telling us. That's their way of telling us that something isn't right for them. And we often have to play behaviour detective and work out what that behaviour means. Oh, I don't know about whys, Anne, but I'm not a parent, Anne. I'm not a parent. I can only share my experiences of my journey. And all of this has been taught to me through reparenting myself, through therapy, through my experiences of my parents and understanding a little bit about their background from being an elder sibling and from helping my parents with my sisters. and through being with these beautiful children that I get to work with. They teach me so much, honestly. And that's what I'm saying. When we allow them the space and we allow them to just be themselves without trying to impose any of our stuff on them, the results are just astounding, because they have all of the answers inside of themselves, and so do you guys. So that journaling has really helped me. So when you're in a dysfunctional relationship, and I'm not going to get into this too much on a personal level, but when you're in a dysfunctional relationship, someone who's controlling or abusive will try to change your reality. This is called gaslighting. And what happens is everything gets really jumbled up in your head. When you live like that for a long, long time, those thoughts, because you've repeated them so many times, become beliefs. And you start to believe things about yourself which isn't true. So the only way to get that voice back and reconnect with yourself is to journal. And I don't know if any of you know about the Artist's Way. This is just sitting in front of me, so I've got to pull it out. There's a parent's version, the Artist's Way. It's a Hay House book, Julia Cameron. She's all about the creativity, but one of her things is called morning pages. So morning pages is you sit with a pen. You sit with a pen and a journal, and you have your cup of tea, and you put some nice classical music on, you do some deep breathing, go inside, and then you just write. You write all the dross out of your head. You can write it as if no one is going to see it. Just write it. Write. Eventually your intuition or your inner voice will kick in, and you will write good stuff. And that's sometimes how I come up with my creative ideas, or come up with, writing my blogs and things for the kids to do, and it comes through the pen. And sometimes how I say when I'm drawing and writing, like, the most random stuff comes out. I believe that, like, under all the dross and all of my stuff and all my layers of, like, conditioning and beliefs, underneath all of that is all the gold. So you've got to listen to yourself, because there's gold in there. But sometimes you've got to dig a bit deeper to find it. I'm parenting you. Aww. I hope in a good way, Anne. I'm not going to be a classical parent in this lifetime, I don't think. I may adopt if I find a partner, but I think I'm a parent in a different way, and this kind of parenting is a good fit for me, and I really enjoy it. So that's really, really kind of you to say so. So does that help? Has anyone got any questions about self-doubt? Has anyone got any questions about strengthening their child's intuition? It's a really, really important one. It's a really important one. Because when you're connected to yourself, that's when magical things happen. And I really noticed that at the spa yesterday, when I took time away from the laptop, I took time out of my busy life to just be with myself. All these amazing ideas were just like exploding out of my brain. I had to keep switching my phone on and going to the notes page and typing them all in. And people say, oh, you're not at work, get off your phone. But you just think to yourself, well, no, I'm not at work. But kind of work's crossed into play, and like, I can't stop this stuff from coming out of me. And then it's too good not to share it with you. But I thought about new courses I could write, and I thought about doing more bedtime slots. I can't call it the bedtime hour because it's not going to be an hour, but if I do this 6:30 slot on a Monday night, I had some amazing visualizations in my head that I wanted to record. Really, really good ones. So, and what we focus our energy on is what grows. So when we start focusing our energy on other people, which we can't change or do anything about, it's a complete waste of our time and energy. So we've got to stay here with ourselves and think, what can I do about this? And I kind of, I'm just going to quickly share before I waffle on and on, because I know I've been online for a long time, but I had a reading done last Sunday at the Mind, Body and Soul, locally to us. And it was a really good reading with a psychic lady, and she was also a life coach. And she did me like a tarot cross. And what really came out of it for me was, I saw it in my head, actually. I saw it as a path with like a signpost. And there are two paths I can take. And I'm kind of like at the crossroads, and I keep on going down this path. This is the good path, by the way. And then running back, and then going back to the old path, which is obviously like the conditioning. On the old path is all of my self-doubt. This is why I'm sharing this with you. And my biggest self-doubts, if I can share them with you, is that no one will like me, and that I will get it wrong. I keep getting dragged onto this path. When I'm on this path and I focus my energy on getting it right and trying to get people to like me, I'm not in a good, that's just such a horrible place to be. When I'm on this path is when I'm connected to myself and I'm not caught up in the story, and I care about how I feel and I take care of myself and I'm looking out for myself. And I know I'm saying self, and I don't want to sound like a selfish cowbag, but for so long in my life, I'm externally focused on helping other people and worrying about other people and what they think and how other people are. And I think 2018 is the time to take care of myself. And that's why I've written Always Be Your Selfie for the kids. So when I had this reading last weekend, I was like, wow, that really speaks to me, because that just couldn't be more perfect to hear that right now. So I want to say to you, what about your selfie? How are you going to connect up to yourself and be with yourself and strengthen your boundaries and not let those buggers in who make you feel bad? Don't let those buggers in. Sorry if there are children watching this for my naughty words. This one is for parents, actually. So if anything I've spoken about today talks to you, there is a whole ton of stuff in my online learning den. I'm going to put the link in below. There is 10% off for the whole of this weekend as my gift to you. You just need to enter Smiley 10 at the checkout and you get 10% off. So there's my ebook, there's the little box of kindness, you know, with the Epsom salts and the crystals and the badger balm and the key ring, which is all about self-care for the kids and self-soothing. There's the Tame Your Angry Dragon, there's the Boundaries for Parents, there's the Be Your Mum You Want to Be. There's so much stuff that I've written for you. So go and make the most of it while there's 10% off. You can email me stuff while you're doing the courses. You can even book coaching calls with me if you really need to. But there's so much information in there, I don't think you need me. You're going to do the course and it's going to open your eyes. It's going to open your eyes. It's going to help you and it's going to help your children. And it makes me so excited to have written all that stuff and be able to share it with you. I'm going to be back here on Sunday to do my Smiley thought card readings for the children. So if you've got little ones or mummies want readings, come here at 10 o'clock on Sunday and I shall do a message for you. And then Monday night at 6:30 I shall be back again. And this week I'm going to do a really beautiful guided visualization for the kids to take them to meet their wise owls, their inner gurus. Take them forward in the future to meet their bigger selves and see what they want to tell themselves and see what they want to ask themselves and see if they can come up with the answers. And I might try and come online every Monday actually and do some sort of relaxation, because I'm just such a big fan of that as a way of connecting back into yourself. And if you're a busy mum and you resist it and you say, I haven't got time to sit there and go, that's just resistance. That's just your fear talking. You've got 5 minutes with a cup of tea to plant your feet on the ground and shut your eyes and go inside and listen to what your body's trying to tell you. Haven't you? Haven't you? Any more questions? Oh, Anne's saying, I wish more of this was taught in school. Emotional intelligence is so important. Yeah, Anne, how do I get into schools? I feel like some schools would resist me because I'm not your classical, you know, I don't always agree with their systems. I don't agree with the homework. They're not going to want someone like me rocking up, making them wrong, are they? But I guess if you're a Senko or you're a teacher, you could go and buy a course from the online learning den and use it as a lesson plan. Nothing to stop you from doing that. There's enough content in there. It's quite content rich and quite easy to understand. I don't know how I get into schools. Answers on a postcard, please, if anybody knows, or if anybody knows anyone on a PTA or anyone knows a Senko or a school counsellor and would like me to come and work with you. I'm happy to. I'm happy to if you think we're a good fit for each other. I have no idea. It can't move. Do they? Probably won't want it. Yeah, they need to measure it. What? But the thing is, Anne, I'm just thinking is that you can't learn, like that client was telling me last week when the teacher's shouting at her. If you're full of anxiety or you're scared or you've got stuff going on with you, then if you're not happy and content and relaxed at school, how the hell are you going to learn anything? Your brain can't absorb and enjoy and apply itself if you are all tense and stressed. Every child that comes to coaching is angry, which is really like just full of anxiety, afraid of getting it wrong, and worried, not feeling safe, lack of boundaries. You can't measure happiness, you can't measure self-esteem, but I guess there are very clear markers in a child's behaviour that demonstrate that child is struggling, and it's not through their grades, is it? It's just in the way that they are, I guess. But then I just think a teacher that's switched on is going to notice that. Like, I know Nikki was a teacher, and I'm sure Nikki could say if she saw a kid in her class that she knew something wasn't quite right, that you would be attuned to that, Nikki, wouldn't you? You would see that in that child. Anyway, it's very interesting, and I guess the most obvious place to help children would to be at school, but the system that's in place, the structures, the paperwork and all of that just doesn't lend itself to helping them in the right way. I know there are, and I'm not tarring every school with the same brush. I know there are schools that do emotional well-being really, really well. I know there are. So I'm not saying it's everyone, but I guess when you've got a class of 30 kids, it's really, really difficult. It's really, really hard. You know, how do you maintain control in the classroom without inciting fear in these kids? Nikki says, yes, you do notice a lot whilst teaching with different students. Yeah, you do. And, you know, me being a wild heart and having really strong intuition, when a kid comes into my coach room, I can pretty much tell in the first 10 minutes what's going on for them. In the form of pictures in my head, or, you know, if there's a sadness, I get a lump in my throat. I get tingling in the tops of my legs if I can feel like their anxiety and anger. I can feel it. It's almost like palpable, and that's, you know, if you're an empath or you're really sensitive, that's how you kind of experience the world on a really emotional level. So when you go out there and there's loads of noise and there's loads of people and there's loads of hatred and judgment and stuff, no wonder I want to get under my dog blanket and cuddle away at the weekend and hide from everybody. It just feels too much. It feels like a battle every day. And again, you've got to connect back to ourselves and preserve that energy and only focus that energy where it can make the most difference. And just be with ourselves. Be with ourselves. I love chatting to you all. Thank you for being here today. I'm assuming there aren't any other questions. Is that right? Do you like my new mug from Waitrose? It's another heart one to add to the collection in the cupboard. I've got a cupboard full of love, just all heart mugs. They've got a star one as well, but I've drawn to the heart one. No more questions? Well, I shall be back on Sunday with my cards, so feel free to join in and have a lovely rest of the day and a lovely weekend. And I'll see you all really, really soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.